Hey, it's John here. Today I want to talk about pre-workout caffeine. A lot of people, as they get more serious and committed to weightlifting, start using pre-workout caffeine to give them more energy so that they can work out harder and so that they can keep up that level of effort for longer. And I certainly overdid the pre-workout caffeine for a very long time, and it can be seductive because it does work and it does give you more energy for that workout. But in the long run, it can work against you in two ways: by impairing your sleep so you don't recover as well, and by getting you addicted to it, building a tolerance so that after a while, you're not taking caffeine to have more energy than your baseline, but you're just taking it to get up to your baseline level of energy and to feel normal. So there are about 5 or 6 things I would recommend for dealing with this problem, in no particular order. And first off, to let you know just how much of an issue the sleep is, studies have been done that showed even taking a little bit of caffeine, like a double shot of espresso first thing in the morning, did have a significant and measurable impact on people's sleep that night. People who had the double shot of espresso first thing in the morning did experience noticeably, measurably less deep sleep when they went to sleep that night versus people who didn't have caffeine. So really, the amount you can get away with having is lower than most people realize. So the first thing I would do is obviously limit both the amount of caffeine and when you have it. You should cut out caffeine for most people somewhere between noon and 6. The half-life varies widely from about 3 to 7 hours. So if you're one of those people who can have caffeine right before bed and still get to sleep, don't do that because it is impairing your sleep, but you probably don't need to cut it out until the very late afternoon, like, 4, 5, 6. For other people like me, it is harder to get to sleep if we have caffeine even in the early afternoon. So I cut it out somewhere between noon and 2-ish, sometimes 3, and really that's too late. I'm still need to push it back earlier. So figure out how fast you metabolize it. That is largely genetic. And, cut out caffeine as early as you need to, or really as early as you can bring yourself to do. The earlier, the better. Next up, use less than most caffeine pushers recommend. Most pre-workout supplements are dosed way too high. They're dosed usually around 300 milligrams of caffeine. Sometimes they even have other stimulants in them like DMAA or theacrine. And in studies, studies have used doses even as high as 500 milligrams of caffeine. And that works, but that will absolutely wreck your sleep that night. So don't do that. The dosage I would recommend is around 200 milligrams for morning workouts and 100 for evening workouts. And that's obviously because you can take more in the mornings because it has more time to get out of your bloodstream, but also your core body temperature is lower in the morning and you need to get it up. So there's more benefit to having caffeine in the morning. And I definitely would have pre-workout caffeine if you go for morning workouts. I greatly prefer afternoon and evening workouts for reasons that I'll save for another video. The next thing you could do is when you do take caffeine, have it on an empty stomach so that you will absorb it faster and metabolize it faster. The peak will come sooner. It'll be out of your system faster. So if you're having, for instance, pre-workout caffeine and protein, have the caffeine first, then the protein. Next, I would take the occasional tolerance break of about 7 to 10 days of no caffeine. In the research, people are able to completely reset their caffeine tolerance within 9 days. So 7 to 10 should be plenty for everyone. And a lot of people don't even need to give up caffeine for that long to reset their tolerance. And you can make it easier. I don't know if this makes it faster, but it certainly makes it easier if you supplement either L-tyrosine or DL-phenylalanine, which are amino acids that work as precursors to dopamine in the brain. So if you take about half a gram of either one of those first thing in the morning and maybe another half a gram around noon, you will avoid a lot of the jitters and fatigue and withdrawal symptoms that come with cutting out caffeine for a week. And then another thing you can do is if you are working out in the evening or maybe even the late afternoon is you could not use caffeine, but instead use a different stimulant that has a shorter half-life that will get out of your system faster. And there are three that I would recommend. The first is higenamine, which is not a very well-known stimulant. You can't really find it in stores that I'm aware of. It is on Amazon. And higenamine in the research has a half-life of about 15 or 20 minutes, but in the research it's injected into people's veins. So when you take it in pill form, the half-life is really going to be, I would say, about 30 to 60 minutes. I don't really know for sure, but undoubtedly a lot shorter than caffeine. So if you have a higenamine in capsule form, immediately before your workout, that's fine as long as you're working out at least 3 or so hours before bedtime. It will be out of your system much faster than caffeine. The next thing you could use, believe it or not, is nicotine. Not in tobacco form, don't smoke, but nicotine on its own, without tobacco, is apparently pretty safe and very hard to get addicted to. Like, it's genuinely difficult to even get rats addicted to it. So it's actually very safe, and it has a half-life of about 1 to 2 hours. So you would need to cut it out within about 4 hours before bedtime. And you can get it in patch form or gum form. Either way, you really want to err on the side of using less rather than more, because if you take too much of it, you will get nauseous. And nicotine doesn't really give you physical energy in the way that caffeine does. It gives you more mental alertness and mental energy. So it'll wake you up so that you can be awake for your workout, but it won't really help you have more physical stamina or power. And then the third is phenylethylamine, or PEA, which is a natural sort of amphetamine-like substance chemical that's naturally produced in your brain, and it has a half-life of about 5 to 10 minutes. So you would need to redose it a few times during your workout. I would get it in powder form, mix it in Gatorade, and just sip that very slowly throughout your workout. Obviously, sip it very slowly because you don't want to chug multiple doses at once. And I would definitely go with powder form over pill form because it doesn't taste great, but it's certainly bearable. And, in pill form, you're just having too many pills. It costs a lot because you need to have several per workout. So any of those are good options, but you also don't absolutely need pre-workout stimulants. So I would definitely take a tolerance break first and get used to working out without stimulants. You can do just fine without them, and you might be better off without them in the long run, particularly if you're working out later in the day, because you will sleep better without them. And the last thing I will add is work out consistently at the same time every day. And over time, you will have more energy when your usual workout time comes around due to entrainment. That is, your body learns that that time of day is workout time. It develops a conditioned response, and you will start to have more energy before your workouts in anticipation of the workout. So regardless of what you end up doing as far as stimulants are concerned, be totally consistent in your workout times, and your body will generate more energy all on its own.